Discover your inner goddess and live up to your highest value and most abundant potential. Welcome to Grateful Goddesses, a podcast that empowers you to unleash your inner goddess and take the leap of faith to live your best life. Your guide, Karen Pulver, joins her fellow goddesses in soulful conversations about gratitude, personal growth, authentic living, and a bevy of topics affecting women today. Let's start the show with your host, Karen Pulver.
Thank you for joining us today on Grateful Goddesses. So it's early in the morning here, and I've already done a 5-mile run. I've done a half an hour weight training, and I finished it off with a 10-minute yoga and then a short meditation. I wish, right? I wish I could do that kind of workout every day. Well, actually, I don't know. It would be really hard to sustain, right? I do love working out, though. I love trying different types of workouts, incorporating strength training and cardio, as well as meditation and yoga. And yes, meditation is working out your brain. So I wanted to invite our featured goddesses on the show to start, because I would like to ask them how they work out. What kinds of workouts do you guys enjoy doing? And perhaps you can tell us a little bit about it. So Michelle, you're early in the morning in California right now. So how you told us earlier, how did you work out this morning?
Yeah, I basically just woke up. So I didn't meditate, but normally I meditate. I do a beautiful meditation that Wendy Cohen helped me with, and she was a featured goddess with you. I prefer to work out in the morning. It just starts my day and I feel happy, and that usually involves strength training and I've been running lately, and when the weather gets a little warmer, I'm going to hike.
That's right. You love hiking, which is probably
it's so beautiful here. I'm in California, and it's just so beautiful. So
you have fun doing that, which is great because
But I have to start with a green tea.
That's right. Rachel, how about you?
I like to start my morning doing Tibetan exercises, and it's this whole routine of 5 exercises that are supposed to be like the most perfect combination of exercise, and it's like a fountain of youth. So, but I'm not motivated enough to do a really big workout before I get my day going, but usually at some point I try to fit it in.
But you also play tennis, right?
I do. I love it.
And ping pong, which is also a good workout because you're having fun and you're playing ping pong, right? With her sons.
Perfect during COVID, during the quarantine.
And you can watch Rachel playing ping pong on Grateful Goddesses if you go to the site. There's a short video clip of her playing. She's quite competitive. And Laura, how about you?
I love a cardio workout. I love a morning workout to start my day. But I had been really focusing on strength training these days as well. But this morning I took my day off, and I was inspired by our guest, Taylor, with her philosophy of needing to be in tune with your body and self-care. And I took my day off, which I think is really important. But I love spinning, running, and strength training, and a good combination of all of them, and a good stretch routine as well. So
you have a multidisciplinary approach.
Yes.
I've worked out with Laura. She actually is you're trained, right, as a coach, like a workout coach. So she's really good. I will say she's tough, but she's good. And I wanted to introduce our guest. Our guest is Taylor Elise Morrison. She is on a mission to help others beat burnout, which is what we've talked about, through sustainable self-care practices. Taylor studied human and organizational development at Vanderbilt University. She started her career in a corporate leadership development program, went on to become the first full-time employee and vice president of operations at a wellness startup, and is now a founder herself. Taylor is a certified group fitness instructor and a certified 200-hour yoga teacher. Welcome, Taylor, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So did you work out this morning?
No, I didn't. On Sundays, I like to take a day off. So I walked my dog and that was about it.
So can you explain to us what is inner workout?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways I can answer that question. Inner Workout as a company is, we exist to help people build the skill of self-care, which we define as listening within and responding in the most loving way possible. And then Inner Workout, the namesake practice, blends movement, breathwork, journaling, and meditation into this cohesive, seamless practice, so that people can get the benefits of self-care within this class, but also start to listen in and notice, this is what I need right now. It's not, you read in my bio that I'm a trained yoga teacher. It's not like yoga in the sense that you have to be in this pose or doing this thing for a certain amount of time. It's really meant to be intuitive and to help people understand what they need for that day.
Is there cardio and weight training involved in inner workout?
No, there's not. So it's called inner workout because it really is an inner workout. So you're moving, you're breathing, you're doing things that might be associated with more of a typical fitness workout, but the focus is really within.
To see how you're feeling in terms of if you're in pain, or also how you feel and relate about your relationship to working out and moving your body, correct?
So when we're talking about listening within and responding in the most loving way possible, we're looking at the 5 dimensions of well-being that are rooted in yogic philosophy. They stem from the koshas. We talk about them as the 5 dimensions. So there's your physical dimension, your energetic dimension, mental and emotional, wisdom, and bliss. And so the way that the class progresses is really a journey inwards. And so when we talk about how you're feeling, it's really about what you need that day. So when we do the movement piece, you're starting standing, then you're doing some seated movement on the mat, and then at the end you're stretching. But everyone needs something different. So sometimes it feels really good to hold in a certain pose, and you're encouraged to do that. Sometimes something isn't accessible for you and your body at all, or maybe just that day. And so you're encouraged to find a different alternative. So it's not just about whether you're in pain or not, it's figuring out what would best serve you. And the whole class is really facilitated in that way. So you're having to do this check-in, understand, okay, yep, this is what I need, and then move based on that rather than just following the facilitator at the front of the class.
And what's so unique about your program is you start by having your participants take Taylor, what is it called again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's called the Take Care Assessment.
Okay, I thought it was self-care.
So that's separate from the inner workout class. So you can take an inner workout class and just do that on its own. The Take Care is a separate offering and something that is that you can do whether or not you enjoy doing inner workout classes.
Right, and I was able to do it. I had the privilege to do it, and I highly recommend it because it does go through all of those concepts like you talked about. And this is my visual result. So you could see my highest is physical and bliss, and my lowest is energetic, which kind of correlates to sleep. I have not been sleeping well, and that's probably why. But can you explain a little bit about my results? It seems like I was the highest in bliss, which I'm happy to I like that result. But my lowest was wisdom. That however means self-trust, focus, and aligned action. Can you discuss a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this is all rooted in yogic philosophy, but we're also taking things from physiology and modern science to help get some type of tangible measurement. Now, that being said, the inner workout is really a mirror. It's a self-assessment. You answered the questions. So it's based on how well you know yourself to a certain extent, but it's really helpful sometimes to input information and then to see it come out as a result on the page. It's a great conversation starter. I like to take mine every few months or so. I just took one yesterday and it was like, oh, yeah, this is giving me some new information for where I can start to focus my own efforts. So in terms of yours being the highest with bliss, a lot of times when we talk about bliss in kind of the cultural sense, we almost talk about the sense of like being so relaxed that you're almost disconnected. And so it's like, I mean, I haven't had an in-person massage in forever and I would love to have one,
Yeah.
but I think of after a massage and you're like, I'm blissed out. And it's normally the sense that you've just like melted into the massage table. And that is a wonderful feeling. But when we're talking about bliss in the take care assessment in the inner workout sense, it's the sense of being hyper connected. And you'll see that there's 3 subdimensions on the profile. So there's the connection to self, connection to community, and then connection to something bigger than you, whatever that looks like on your end. So I've got your results pulled up here. So it looks like for you, the connection to community was your strongest overall. That was a strong area, but that was your strongest right now. And the other thing about the take care assessment is that we could take it even multiple times throughout the day and you'd get different results because it's a point in time measurement, which is really important because you are constantly growing and changing. And so if you think of self-care back to that inner workout definition of listening within and responding in the most loving way possible, you're going to listen and hear different things about what you need every time. And so if you say, this is what's worked for me for the past 6 months, and then all of a sudden there's like a global pandemic, you might need different things. And so this is a way to kind of help you realize, oh, something has shifted in me, and to give you a little bit more of a framework. So the wisdom dimension, when we look at the tradition that it stems from, and also how we talk about it in the context of inner workout, the wisdom is about this connection into your own inner knowing. And so the 3 subdimensions underneath there, you've got self-trust, which is like, do you trust that you know what you want and what you need? Then you get focus, which focus sometimes can be confusing because you might be like, I can meditate for a long time, or I can get lost in a task, but that isn't the only area of focus. And I see for you, that was one of the ones that was a little bit lower. Focus is all about, are you able to be in the present moment? Because you're the most powerful when you can be in the present. And so it's not just asking questions about being able to get into a flow state. It's also looking at, are you always jumping ahead and looking at the future, which is what I tend to do a lot, or are you spending a lot of time in the past? So that question and that focus area is looking beyond just, can you get something done? How are you easily distracted? And then the aligned action piece is, okay, if I trust myself, if I can listen to my inner knowing, that's great, but what am I doing with that? Am I actually acting based on what I hear from my inner knowing? So that's a little bit of a breakdown of what those 2 areas specifically look like.
Well, it was so helpful to me because I do know that I can focus on something at hand, a task at hand, but I multitask quite a bit. And I think it's just a great reminder that it's so important to be present and to focus on one thing at a time, you know, especially in our world, is so much going on. Yes, I do think of the future and the past, what's going to happen to our world and what's going to happen to our community. And I need to just think right now, everything's okay right now in my being, I am okay, you know, try and be present for sure. So that was a really good tool to help. And I just love that survey. So anyone can go online to do that survey, right? How could they do that if our viewers and listeners want to do it?
Yeah, if you just go to innerworkout.co, on the first page, there'll be a link to purchase the Take Care assessment.
Okay, thank you. Our featured goddess, Lara, has some questions for you now, Taylor.
Hi, Taylor. It's a pleasure talking to you this morning. So after looking at your Instagram feed and seeing all the amazing comments people are saying after they experience your inner workout, and it's really incredible to see how grounded people are feeling. And what I have found is there's so much conflict people can have with not having confidence to go into the gym, and the physical workout part for a lot of people is difficult. So how do you get your clients to understand that the mind, body, spirit piece is so important for their physical well-being?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what's nice about inner workout is that the people who are drawn to it are the people who are to some extent aware of that connection or are interested in cultivating it and trying it on their own. Um, and that's why, I mean, we haven't done anything in person for months at this point, but that's why there's always been online class offerings as well. So if people want to try something at home without the fear of going into the gym or being around other people, they can still have this experience on their own. So that's something that's been really helpful. But also the way that we facilitate inner workout classes is really so that it is a self-care experience, but in the context of community. So we facilitate in rooms that don't have mirrors. If we do happen to be in a room with mirrors, we turn away, so that it's really about you getting the feedback internally, and not about you looking at yourself. How do I look as I'm doing this move? How does everyone else look? They chose to stay in this longer. Maybe I should go back to doing that movement. It's really, you can be focused on yourself, which actually helps a lot of people be able to get into it and feel more comfortable. And we'll even just say, like, everyone is focused on themselves. You can do the weird thing that you feel called to do because that person is focused next to you. They're focused on what they need to do, and kind of try and diffuse any fear that way.
That's fantastic. I love turning away from the mirror. And as you said before, you are your own mirror. So that's an amazing way to look at it.
Rachel.
So I love what you're saying about not having a mirror. I didn't mention, but I do practice a lot of yoga, and the studio I go to does not have mirrors anywhere. And everything that you're saying is really resonating with me, because I feel like that's always your challenge in a workout place, is not to be competitive with others. And yoga is I'm constantly challenging myself not to look at all of these women in their beautiful poses that I can't reach, and just to go at my level. And I was wondering, though, if you could talk to us a little bit more about just guiding us through what this workout looks like, and what you're attaining and what you're doing.
Yeah. So every class has an intention, which is like a theme that guides the class. So we've done, it might be joy or gratitude. We did one fairly recently on grief. And so everything will be tied back into that intention. So inner workout is typically mat-based. Sometimes when we're doing office things, we'll do a shorter chair-based version. And so you start standing and you'll do movement that's designed to warm up your body, get you used to listening to your body, and just kind of shake some of that initial, like, am I really allowed to listen to myself feelings? And then you get into being on your mat. And so that will be movement either from a table position or seated stretching, but you go onto your mat. And then the final is stretching that's based laying down on your mat. So that's the three parts of the physical movement. And then you transition into breath work, which again is always going to be tied back into that intention for the class. So you'll spend a few minutes doing a guided breathing practice. Then you transition into journaling. There's always 2 journaling prompts throughout the class. And so it's a chance for you to reflect. And let me go back. So the physical is pretty easy, like the physical maps to the physical dimension. The breath work piece, when you look at yogic philosophy, your breath is connected to prana, the life force energy. And then also there's all kinds of physiological benefits to really intentional breathing. So the breathing piece is a way to kind of regulate your energy. And then we go into the journaling with the 2 journaling prompts. That's a way to access the mental and emotional dimension. You're dealing with your thoughts, you're dealing with your feelings as it relates. The prompts always relate back to that intention. Then you move into a time of meditation, which is often more of a guided visualization. So it's not the really stripped down where you're just sitting there counting your breaths or having that awareness. There is normally a guided visualization, which again is tied back to the intention for the class. And then at the end of the meditation, we invite people to take a couple deep breaths and to ask what they need to complete that class. So that's really like the self-care practicum, where if self-care is listening within and responding, and you're doing that in little ways throughout the class. But this last piece is like, okay, what do I need to make this class feel like it was the best hour of my day? And so for some people, that's laying there taking a more traditional Shavasana. For some people, they're like, you know what? I want to go back and write some more in my journal. Other people are like, oh, this stretch would feel really good. And so you spend the last few minutes doing whatever you need to do. And then that's the end of the class. So everything is guided by music, is tied really seamlessly together. So it's not like, okay, we did the physical part, now it's time for breath work. You're just like flowing into each piece.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And did you design this class?
Mm-hmm.
That I am so impressed.
So Taylor, can you tell us about your journey to how you founded Inner Workout? Because you used to be in a corporate job.
Yeah, it's always like where to start. So
Yeah.
I've always been entrepreneurial. So like since I was a kid. So everyone who's known me since I was a kid knew that like at some point I would be working for myself. So that wasn't necessarily the surprise. But I was working in corporate and it just wasn't necessarily feeling super challenging or super fulfilling. And where I worked, they make it really easy for you to get lulled in and to want to stay there because they're one of the companies that still has a pension on top of your retirement plan, and you start with a month of PTO. And so you just can get really comfortable really quick. And so I realized like I could go down this path, but I was looking at the people who were at the vice president level and even the senior vice president level, and just realizing that I wasn't super excited about the life that they were building. I remember a time when I was working, I was like the low person on the team, but I was helping with our department's contribution to the board deck. And like even the vice presidents are running around. It's like a holiday weekend and they're having to work all weekend because the president of the company like had been in Aspen before the holiday weekend, and now he was ready to work on it during the holiday weekend. It was a whole thing. And I was like, I thought if I moved up the ladder, I would not have to deal with these things, but they were still having to deal with these things. And so I started looking for something else. Well, I will back up and say I also, my senior year of college, I founded a brand strategy company. So on the side, I was always like working with clients. And so I wanted something different. So I started looking at the startup space and ended up joining a health and wellness company. Like you said in my bio, as their first full-time employee. I hope, knock on wood, that I won't have to go back into a full-time job. But if I do, I love the startup environment. I love being able to see that there's a problem or an opportunity, and then within like a couple, sometimes that day we'd have a solution, but within a couple of weeks, within a month, being able to get something on the ground. And I ended up actually going back to work at a startup that was owned by the organization that I worked for. And startup is very loose here because when you're working at a startup that's funded by a Fortune 100, like it's still a Fortune 100, but you just get some cool startup perks. And in the time that I had left that organization, gone to the startup and come back, they were still working on projects that had started while I was there. And so just to give you an idea of like how long things were taking. And when I did that second round, I had thought that this was like my dream job. Even the first time I was at that organization, I would have been like, it'd be so cool if this position got created. And then it did get created. And I was like, oh, Taylor, you might be great for this because of your startup experience. And it just still felt really corporate. And there's nothing against corporate. I just knew for me that it's not for me. And so I started really thinking about what would it look like for me to not be there anymore. And so I did a lot of writing and thinking, and I said like, okay, we've got to have this much money in savings, and I have some clients right now, but I would want to have a part-time job that could kind of, I know that I'll have this base amount of income, make sure that like our mortgage is covered and the basic things. And then and I forgot there was one more thing on my list, but basically I looked at our accounts. We did have that much money in savings. A couple of weeks later, I met someone who I thought was going to be my mentor, and he did end up being that, but he also, by the end of the meeting, was like, oh, you're thinking that the next thing you need is a part-time job? I think you would be a great fit at my company. And so I had like a soft job offer from him. And then like a couple of weeks later, I gave my 2 weeks notice. And so at that time, I really thought that I would be focusing on my brand strategy firm and really building that up as I was working this part-time business. But I really have been passionate about talking about self-care, and I saw like personal and professional opportunities there. So I've burned myself out a lot. You can probably hear through this conversation, like I was working full-time. I was running a business on the side. During this time period, I planned a wedding and got married. And we were like buying a condo, like we were doing a lot of things. And I also was volunteering a lot too, with multiple organizations. And so it ended up being like I'd get to this place where I would just be getting overwhelmed and feeling like I'm underwater. And then I would maybe quit a couple things or try and change my capacity, and then like peek over the edge and then get underwater again. And so I started thinking a lot about self-care, and what that would look like for me. And that's when that definition of self-care started to come out. And then, I started talking about it more with my peers and realizing they were having a lot of the same issues. And so I just talked about it for a while. I had like a self-care shop online, but that didn't feel exactly right. And then one day I was sitting on my yoga mat, and I just had this thought, like, why isn't there a class that really helps people build the skill of self-care? And that's when I started building inner workout and testing it out, enrolling in my yoga teacher training. And then, it's been a little over, I publicly launched about a year ago, but I started building it about a year and a half ago. And so that was kind of a winding journey, but it's been a winding journey.
But it seems that you've tapped into what you love to do, which is such a big lesson of Grateful Goddesses, is learning how to tap into that. And sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and it takes reflection. But you're just such a nice example to people to hear. You really did self-care in understanding what it was that you needed in your life so that you could feel good at your job. And you planned. We have spoken to many people who've left their corporate jobs. They too had mentioned, yes, I did take that leap, but I had to make sure I had savings. I had to make sure that I had a bit of a cushion to fall back on. Some just took off and they didn't, but and they were very lucky. But yeah, it seems like you've covered all areas just to make sure that you could do what you're passionate about. Michelle has some questions for you now.
Hi, Taylor. I'm so happy to be here and meet you. I got up about a half an hour ago. I'm in California, but I really, really felt drawn to you and your story and what you do. You know, I was wondering, I'm listening to you talk, and for years I thought, watching my kids grow up, that this is something that should be taught early on in our lives. I mean, I'm in my mid-50s and I'm just learning about these things now. And so I wonder, have you ever thought about what it would be like to take a program like this and put it into, at the school level?
Yeah, that's something that was not, when I was building it, I wasn't really thinking about it being something for kids. But one of our, so we have 4 core values, but 2 of them that are applicable is, one is that we listen, and it's a lot about getting feedback, active listening in team conversations. And then the other piece is that we flow, and we are able to shift and change based on that feedback. And one of the subpoints under that is like embracing new applications of the practice. And pretty early on, I had people who were talking about, oh, maybe this would be something that would be great for people who are undergoing cancer treatments, or people who are going through this. So that's an application that we've kind of been talking about. And then the education piece also just kind of happened. So we've had the opportunity to do it. I think our youngest person who's gone through it was through in about 4th grade, but we've done it with high schoolers as well. And I'd be curious to start to do more of it. There's a couple of nonprofits that we partner with that work with younger folks. But yeah, it's really, the high school one was interesting at first because high schoolers are just so aware of, they want to be cool. They want everyone to like them. And so when you're saying like, okay, we're going to give you these starting points for movement, but then you can kind of flow with it. And at the beginning, everyone was looking around like, are they really gonna, like, is this cool or is this not cool? Are we gonna just blow this off? And then by the end, the kids, they got so into it, and some of them like fell asleep during the meditation. But it was like they probably needed that. They probably stayed up late on their phone, and like actually this is really healthy for them that they're getting a little bit of rest. But we had this closing circle afterwards because it was part of a larger program for the day, and these kids were just saying that they felt like relaxed and peaceful. And these are kids who may not have the most stable situations, so to hear them say that they were feeling grounded and peaceful and rested after this time that we spent together was just like, I am getting a little teary-eyed thinking about it. So that was a long way to say that's something that we've like dabbled in a little bit, and I'd love to do more of it.
Wow, it's making me think that what you do is really universal. There's nobody who couldn't benefit from this, from your program. And that's pretty amazing. And that means the world is your oyster too, right? But I wish I knew these things when I was younger, but it's never too late. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Lara, you have a question.
Well, I'm just going to take on, like, just carry on from that point of the fact that you do appeal, or you could appeal to so many people at different stages in their lives. And it's just incredible to continue to put the message out there that you're doing, that taking care of yourself is not a selfish act. And to learn more about yourself doesn't mean that you're taking away from being such a caring person to others. And how do you train your facilitators to work? How does that piece work?
Yeah. Before I answer that question, you touched on such a great point that self-care is important, but also we really believe that community care is important too. And so that's why we do things like work with different nonprofits or try and make different levels of offering. But in terms of how facilitators are trained, so that's a thing that has changed with everything with the pandemic, but the original plan was to have it be like an intensive weekend training. And now we've spread it out over the course of 8 weeks. And so you get trained in each part of the class. First of all, you get trained in the overall inner workout philosophy, our values, how we approach things. Then you get trained in each part of the class. We've got core movements. Not that you can only use those movements, but these are kind of the building blocks for the classes. Different breathwork practices. So each of those you get trained in. You do a lot of, I'm a big believer in kind of practicing before you're ready. And so basically in your second week, you're starting to practice teaching different parts of the class. And a lot of what I'm working with facilitators on is the cueing, because the inner workout has elements of yoga in it. It's rooted in yogic philosophy. It includes some yogic movements, but it also includes all of these different things. It includes things that you probably did in gym class when you were a kid. And so it's really important how things are cued and how we talk about them, especially because some of the people who are doing inner workouts are people who maybe haven't had the greatest relationship to movement before. I have a friend and a collaborator who works with people on intuitive eating. And sometimes the people that she's working with have come to exercise from this place of like punishment or control. And so to be able to do joyful movement is a really big thing for them. And so we have to make sure that we're using language that wouldn't accidentally be triggering to people. And then we're also really aware of cueing from a trauma-informed place too. So a lot of the time in the training is spent on how are we communicating things to people so that we can create the most supportive experience possible.
That is a very thoughtful way to teach. And I can imagine to allow people to open up in a space of comfort, that's very important. You seem to be very knowledgeable, and I can already tell you'd be an amazing teacher. So,
and Laura, you want to be a facilitator, you told me before.
Yeah,
right?
I'm very interested in this. I think it's a very exciting proposition. So,
can you do it online? She's in Canada. She can do the course online.
Yeah, it's online. The next one applications will be opening probably in late October, early November, and it'll kick off in January.
Okay. Rachel?
I'm curious, when you say that, I don't think I'm going to be saying this correctly, but that people don't have a good relationship with movement per se, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great clarifying question. So they might have related to movement from a place of reward or punishment. And so movement is not this thing that you're doing that's nourishing to your body, but it's this thing that you have to do because you feel like you ate the wrong thing. And so you're doing this to punish yourself. You're moving in a way where you're maybe not resting and you're pushing yourself to the absolute limit, like 7 days a week. And so some of the people who are coming to Inner Workout are looking for a way to move. And Inner Workout has workout in the name, but it's not because it's a physical workout. Like you could do inner workouts, it's not going to make you like super toned. You would probably be a lot more in touch with yourself and your emotions and your being, but the changing your physical body is not the point of it. And so because some of the people who are coming maybe have only been in environments where they feel like they're coming to the movement because they need to be something other than themselves, we want to make sure that we're doing things and kind of helping them. I don't want to say we're helping them heal, but we're giving them a different way that they can approach movement, which then if they decide to do harder physical workouts later on, not with us, hopefully they can bring some of what they learned in Inner Workout into their other movement.
And their intention for, understand that intention and bring it forward.
Yeah.
Especially if you focus. I was told that when I was doing a weight training class that, I would just kind of go through the movements, but I was told somewhere, and I forget where, but if I were to focus on my intention on what do I want from that? What do I want? I want strength. I want balance. Then that after I do that class or I do that movement, that I could lead my body towards those goals of balance and strength. Is that something kind of that you teach, is just intention towards moving?
To a certain extent. I feel like ours is a little bit more, we're exploring something together. And so I would say the biggest thing that we're trying to get people to do is to be curious and to understand in the movement portion, their body's own cues. So how do I know like when my body feels like it's done with the movement? How do I know when something feels good in my body? Because a lot of times we have just approached things where I need to do 10 reps of this, or everyone is holding downward facing dog for this long, so I need to hold it for this long, and have never even considered, oh, I have agency here. I can figure out, oh, this has served me long enough. I'm going to go into child's pose. Or you know what? I need to spend a little bit more time in the shoulder roll and hold it a little bit, open myself up. And I feel like I can do that without having my teacher wonder why I'm not following them. And that's why we don't call Inner Workout people who are trained in Inner Workout teachers. We call them facilitators because we believe that people are the experts in their own experience, and we're going to guide them through as safe an experience as possible, but we're facilitating. We're not telling you what exactly to do.
Right. So it's not like, do 10 more. Come on. Right. I hear you.
Taylor, have you been able to see some feedback from from clients who, or participants who have been able to take these empowerment feelings that they're gaining through the inner workout to enhance their lives in healthy ways? Are they sharing any feedback of, you're really touching upon a point that I think is so amazing to see, that if you're encouraging young kids to exercise and they don't like to be pushed or directed and they want to have their own control. So I'm curious to see how that evolution takes place with people who are changing their lives after they've been doing your inner workouts for a while. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel like people will say that they feel more connected to themselves. It's also been a little bit different because I used to have regulars who would come to certain classes, and now we're not doing Zoom classes in the way that a lot of places are. So now they're taking on-demand classes on their own time, and I'm not having that level of interaction. Where I do see a lot of the changes, we have a 6-week course that is related to the Take Care assessment. And you take it, you dive into your results, you do different exercises this week or each week for 6 weeks related to each of the 5 dimensions, and hearing how people have been able to try on different practices and rituals, and just approach the way that they talk to themselves in different ways. That's been really cool. And I think inner workout classes themselves can offer you that the more that you do them. But we also have like this other side of the business that more, I guess, more tactically like gives people the skills to do that. Whereas in an inner workout class, it's a little bit more implied.
I see. That's inspiring.
Michelle?
So Taylor, I'm listening, and I was in India and I did a little bit of studying there, studying Ayurveda and just yoga and practice. And I remember telling one of my teachers that I'm going to go back and I'm going to start taking yoga classes again. And she laughed at me because she said, why would you take a class? Because the program, like, it's your yoga practice. It shouldn't be what somebody else tells you to do. It should be from within. But I feel like with you, the inner workout really looks at the individual and tailors it to, an individual workout, inner workout, as opposed to this is great for the masses and, you should do this. So I like that. I feel like that just speaks to me a lot. Just a comment.
To hear that.
So Taylor, your Instagram posts are really beautiful and very just inspiring. I came across one I wanted to ask you about. You said the words, I am a very Black woman building a business, very Black woman creating spaces for healing and introspection, sharing my story. As someone who spent so much of my life prioritizing white perceptions and opinions, this is a revolutionary act. And I just wanted to know if you could touch on that, especially with all the social injustices that are coming out in the forefront and everything that's happening in our community. I loved that you said this, and I wanted to know why though you did, why you felt the need to write that.
Yeah, this would be a very long conversation, but I think when you look at the wellness space traditionally, it's very focused on people, on white, thin women, and that is the ideal to which you're supposed to aspire, regardless of whether or not that is a look that is actually accessible to you. When you look at who is leading different practices, even if they're practices that are rooted in Indigenous cultures or other cultures, the face is so often someone who doesn't have that experience. And we could get into a whole other thing about like appropriation versus appreciation and who you're learning from and those different things. But it's really important to me to show up as my full self as I'm building this class, and to be someone in wellness who does not have the traditional wellness look, because everyone deserves to be well. And I would love to see the next generation of wellness founders look a lot more like what the country looks like, and have people feel like this is a space that they can be in and can thrive in, not just at the practitioner level, well, kind of at every level, because I want everyone to feel like they can experience wellness and they can come into a class where they are accepted and they are seen, and they don't have to change part of themselves to enter into the class. I want practitioners who are diverse and who are committed to creating diverse spaces. That's actually something that we talk about in the facilitator training, is like thinking about where you're teaching inner workouts. Are you only teaching them in certain environments? How can you bring it to more people? And that will look different for everyone. And then I also want people to feel like they can be leaders of wellness companies as well. Like, it doesn't just have to be that the Black people are the personal trainers and that's it. You can also run a wellness company as a Black person. And so I just, I believe a lot in representation in every aspect of life. And I think that just by me showing up and running a business the way that I do is, it is a revolutionary act, and I'm excited to keep doing it.
No, that really struck me, and I loved reading that. It just really was in tune with your mission, and I appreciate that you wrote that you used your platform to put that out there for sure. What is your get-to-do list today, Taylor?
My get-to-do list after today is I might bring my dog to my parents' house. It was my mom's birthday on Friday. We had a birthday dinner last night and I didn't bring my dog, and so now she's requesting to see her grand dog. So I'm probably going to do that, and then I'm probably going to take a nap and relax. It's been a really full week. Yesterday was we just finished out an inner workout facilitator training cohort and had a closing circle. I had to make some really big decisions this week, and so I just want to spend the rest of my day like resting with the people and the four-legged creatures that I love.
So for those of you that don't know, Taylor makes her to-do list titled Get To-Do Lists. And why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, it's just like those little things that can change, kind of like you were talking about with the weights, and like having an intention can change how you perceive it. I still have a very full plate, and so being able to see things as what I get to do rather than I have to do all of these things, but like, no, these are things that I get to do. And I was just having this conversation with my husband, like even those big decisions that I have to make are things that like 5 years ago was like a pipe dream that it would be possible that I would get to have this decision, or like this problem that I'm having is like a problem that I feel so grateful that this is a problem for me. And so it just gives me a little way to be like, oh yeah, these are all gifts, even though it's annoying and frustrating sometimes and overwhelming. I'm really blessed to be able to get to do these things.
Well, I write to-do lists all the time, and I wrote the word get, and it totally has a new perspective on, gratitude. I get, to go do this. I get to go do that. And I loved that you did that. Thank you, Taylor, for showing us that we can work on ourselves, personal development for collective change. So if our guests would like to contact you, how can they do that?
So my websites and Instagram are the best ways to see what I'm up to. So Inner Workout's website is innerworkout.co, so .co. My personal website is taylorelise.com, and that's Elise with a Y. And then I'm on Instagram at Taylor Elise Morrison, and Inner Workout's Instagram is at Inner Workout.
Well, thank you so much. I think I'm going to change my workout today because I'm really tired. I didn't sleep well. And I think I'm going to, instead of doing my 5-mile run, I'm just going to go for a walk. I'm going to listen to my body and do some stretching. Sound good?
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Thank you again for joining us on Grateful Goddesses.
Up next, favorite things. Opening up to happiness and joy.
Welcome to Favorite Things with Taylor Morrison. This is our adult show and tell, and it's so much fun to see what everyone loves to do, what makes them feel joyous and happy, because we know that the more that we focus on positivity, the more that we'll attract into our lives. So, Michelle, we hear that you tell us about your favorite thing today.
Okay, so I was saying this is very vulnerable of me. This is very real. And, but I'm excited to do that because I think we should do more of that. Okay. These are coconut bra. So I had a great first date with the man that I'm currently seeing, and we both shared a lot of humor. And so when he asked me out again, you know, he was trying to come up with a fun excuse to ask me out again. So it turned out it was the day he wanted to go out was National Coconut Day. And so we've been joking. And so I showed up and I had a jacket on, and then, you know, he drove me wherever, and we got out, and I took off the jacket, and there I am. I had a shirt underneath, but I was wearing my coconut bra, and we just sat there and laughed hysterically. And really, you know, that's all fun and good, but the reason why I'm mentioning it and thinking about it is because I'm finding joy in everything, and it's so, I just felt so happy and silly, and that was great, and it was freeing. And if he liked it, great. If he didn't, then we were.
I think he liked it. I have a feeling he loved it. That's great. Laura, what's your favorite thing?
Lately, my favorite thing, and I feel like I'm hooked, is this product. I love scent, and I've always loved perfume, but I have, over the last few years, I get migraine headaches. So on the migraine list of what to avoid right away, it's perfumes. So I found these amazing natural essential oil perfume sticks, and the product is called Holistic. It's Canadian, and the one I used this morning is called Teratai, and it has green tea in it, citrus, and it's very invigorating, and it's just I just love it. So this is my new thing, and I feel like I'm hooked. And there's a package of 3 that you can get, so you can change up your oils, and they're all paraben free, absolutely pure, and amazing. So
and that's what you told me that you're getting me for my birthday, right?
Yes. Coming up.
Rachel.
Oh my gosh. Well, number one, essential oils. I do everything, and I wear amber oil all the time.
Okay.
I love using that as a perfume. And Michelle, I am so proud of you. I love that you just went for it. And like, God, we all need that. That was like such a good belly laugh for me, hearing you do that. I love it.
I'm very new at this dating thing, very new.
Well, good for you, putting it all out there, and just like, if you don't have a sense of humor, you're not for me. I love
Absolutely. It. And we should be who we are. I am who I am. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's really okay by me.
By the way, where can people get those coconuts?
You want some, huh? I got mine on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. Just search coconut bra.
I saw the best t-shirt the other day was "Be yourself, everyone else is taken."
I've seen that too. It's amazing.
That's great. Okay. I brought tennis balls. We talked about exercise, and tennis has been something for me that I've always found pride in. I played competitively growing up. I was not good enough to play college, but I've always continued playing. And now that I'm in my 50s and still hitting, I had some back issues and I couldn't play for over a year. And I realized, like, a part of me was taken. Like, there's something that tennis does for me that just fills me up and makes me feel good, and it's good for your body, and it's good engagement, and you play with someone else. And so to me, it's such a gift to play. Like, your to-do list and your get-to-do list. Like, I've always felt that way about tennis. I get to play.
That's beautiful. I love all your favorite things. Before we get to our guest favorite things, mine is my new ring. My husband got it for me. It's called the Aura Ring, O-U-R-A. And inside are 3 little, I guess they're probes or something. They measure all different areas. In fact, there is, if you want to sign up, you can sign up for COVID-19 temperature study that they're doing, which they'll monitor all the people that are wearing these to see if, your temperature is anything to do, to go along with COVID. But I wear it for mainly my sleep. You can wear it all the time, but it measures your sleep in such detail. So my sleep last night was a 74, which is pretty good, but ideally you like to be in the 80s. But what I like about it is it actually goes into detail about your sleep. So it shows your total sleep, efficiency, restfulness, REM, deep sleep, latency, and timing. And my deep sleep was only 11 minutes last night. That's not good. So it also says my restfulness was low too. And it gives you suggestions on different things that you can do. I think I might need to sleep in a different room than my husband. I'm not sure if he'll like that, but it does say that I do wake up quite frequently. In fact, this was last night's showed that I was up for 2 hours and I didn't even know that I was awake, which is kind of odd. I must have just been lying there, but kind of in a state, but my body was awake. So I definitely love wearing my ring because it shows me all the different things that I need to work on. And Taylor, how about you?
Yeah, I brought, this is called Throat Coat. It's a traditional medicinals tea, and it's like my favorite tea for a lot of reasons. First of all, I love the flavor. It's got this natural sweetness, but doesn't, like, you don't need any sugar, and I don't think it has any sugar in it. But I do a lot of talking for my work, whether I'm facilitating things for corporate clients or recording my podcast or facilitating trainings. And so I'm talking a lot, and naturally my voice is pretty soft. And so this is so nice for like supporting my throat. And it's also starting to get colder here in Chicago. And so I love, and I am always cold. Like my temperature is normally like the 96, 97 range. And so I need tea to keep me warm and cozy. And so this has been my favorite thing. And since the temperature dropped recently, I've been having like a cup or two a day. And it's just like the best little treat.
I love how our favorite things are all self-care, like really looking at ourselves inside and out. And of course, wearing essential oils, Laura, you realize, you can't do it because of your migraines, but you can certainly find a way to do it that's not going to bother you. And Rachel, you're going to go play tennis today. You're going to have fun doing that. And you'll have some tea. I'll go back to bed because I honestly need a nap. And Michelle, you're going to go wear your coconuts. I think we all need to get those coconuts and show up on a show wearing them. So thank you all for sharing your favorite things today on Grateful Goddesses with Taylor Morrison. Thank you, Taylor, for joining us again.
Unleashed your inner goddess yet? Thanks for joining us today on Grateful Goddesses. We invite you to visit our website, www.gratefulgoddesses.com, to access today's show notes as well as other helpful resources. Don't forget to leave a review. Until next time, stay strong and empowered to be a grateful goddess.